If you're an esthetician and you're in a season where you feel stuck and you're not sure what to do next, whether it's just time to just continue to push through and do the hard thing, or maybe it's time to pivot, then this episode's for you. I'm going to be talking about when to push versus when it's time to pivot. Welcome to The Rebel Show, the podcast for estheticians who want to grow their business, master social media, and perfect their waxing technique. I'm Brie Mesquit, esthetician, business coach, and founder of Rebel Wax and First to Market Wax Pads. I built a 6-figure clientele, a 7-figure brand, and have trained over 15,000 waxers through my in-person and online courses. Are you struggling to book clients or market yourself? You're in the right place. Each week, I bring real business strategies, waxing education, and no BS advice to help you grow. Let's get into it. So why did this topic even come to mind for me? We were on a long 15-hour car ride coming back from the Vegas trade show, and I was actually listening to an Alex Hormozi podcast, and he was talking about this, and he was talking about it's one of the hardest things to really determine when it's time to pivot versus when it's time to push. And coming off of the trade show, I'm actually in that season as well because they just haven't been producing what they need to with the expenses that come with the trade show and the major decline in sales for all vendors across the board. Things are just tough right now. I've been questioning whether it's time to pivot and not do trade shows anymore, or if it's just us needing to push through and it just is the season right now. So I'm in that right now, and I want to talk to you guys because with talking to you guys face to face at these shows and meeting you in person, I feel like a lot of people go through this season where you feel stuck and you're not sure if it's just part of it and you continue to push forward on the same path, or if it's time to change direction a little bit. So we're going to talk about that. Number one question to ask yourself is, am I just uncomfortable or is something actually wrong? So for me, my weight loss, it's like there's times where it's really uncomfortable. You know, you're waking up super sore. Maybe it's hard to get out of bed. It's hard to sit on the freaking toilet. Why is sitting on the toilet or walking downstairs the worst part? Like, oh my God. But then that doesn't necessarily mean something's wrong. It actually is a signal that it's working. You're building muscle. You're breaking yourself down to build yourself up. So it doesn't mean, okay, I need to stop. This is just too much because I'm like really sore. You're just uncomfortable. That doesn't mean anything's wrong. So sometimes you're just in seasons where it's really difficult and it's hard because you're entering a new realm. It's something new. Doesn't mean that it's wrong and you need to quit. So those are moments of pushing through. Next question to ask yourself is, am I giving it enough time? Like, have I actually been consistent? Have I actually been doing the thing? For example, I just taught the rule of 100 a few episodes back. And that was rule of 100. If you follow that, I guarantee you will be fully booked in 100 days. Like, I can make that promise because I know that stuff works. But if you get at the 100-day mark and you're like, Brie, you were wrong. You're a liar. It didn't work. I would turn around and ask, well, did you actually do it? Did you do it every day? Did you stay consistent? Because I have a really hard time believing that if you did that you wouldn't be fully booked unless technique is a major issue and people are leaving out the back door as quickly as you're bringing them in. But all of that aside, I would ask, were you consistent? Were you expecting instant results? Did you actually get through the 100 days? Or are you messaging me this at day 5 because you wanted to see more instant results? Have you truly given enough reps? Have you collected data? Did you just keep doing the same thing you've been doing from day 1 on day 100 instead of, okay, let me get through a week, analyze everything that I did and see where I can improve? That's a big thing too. A lot of times people, they're doing the right steps, but they're not analyzing the feedback they're getting from people or the data and then pivoting a little bit when needed, changing it up and trying something new. For example, when I do the 100 DM reach outs every day, then I see the responses from people. And if it's really low response rate, I'm going to switch up my message a little bit. And then if that one does well, then I'm just going to continue with that message because it's working. Or if I'm making TikToks and I made 20 TikToks, but 2 or 3 did really well, I'm going to analyze it and say, what about those ones? What do I think was the best? Like, why did it perform so well? Let me incorporate that into future TikTok. So it's not just doing the steps, blindly checking these things off the list. It's analyzing it as well and continuing to try to improve upon it. Most people just don't give things enough time, and they just want to quit and say that it didn't work instead of putting in the reps and giving it enough time. You cannot post one video and build your entire clientele. You can't even post 10. Okay, it's 100, then 200, then 300. People don't give things enough time. Also ask yourself, am I solving the right problem? So for example, say maybe you had the idea of, I'm going to make a doggy skateboard. There's no skateboards out there created for dogs specifically. So I'm going to be the first one. I'm going to make billions off of this idea. You create this skateboard, you start selling it, you get it in front of people, and they're just not buying. Are you solving the right problem? Do people really care about a doggy specific skateboard? Maybe not. Maybe that's the time where it's like, okay, I need to pivot and I need to solve an actual problem that people have. That's how you do best in business, is see a problem, be the solution. That's how we've gotten to where we're at right now. First, I started with the services, right? As a solo esthetician, there could be the problem for clients that they couldn't find their person. They couldn't find someone with really great technique that they also connected well with. So that's the first problem that we all solve as estheticians, is being someone's person, their go-to person for services that we already know people love and want. Then from there, I saw an issue or a gap or a problem with the wax pads. I was making my own videos to promote my services online, and I hated the background, and I hated that my clients got so sweaty laying on a polymer wax pad. So I decided to create my own. There was a problem that other waxers had as well. Started a whole business off of that. Then from there, with our wax, solving a problem, I saw a gap in the market, great education, great customer service, quality products, not changing formulas, like transparency, solve that problem. Then I saw, I've seen problems with lack of education, created my free course, do a lot of education, have this podcast. It's like, you want to solve the right problem. So that's another question that you need to ask yourself as well. When you're feeling stuck, it's like, am I solving the right problem?
Quick interruption to the show. Do you have gaps in your schedule? Your clients are not rebooking. Credit card fees are eating into your profit. You want to be making more money, but there's only so many hours in the day. And most beauty entrepreneurs are already doing everything themselves. Half the time, you don't even have time to sit down and eat lunch. It's like having a mini assistant running in the background of your business, helping you fill your books, uncover revenue that is already sitting inside of your business, and taking care of so much of the admin side of your business automatically. And unlike a lot of other systems, their point of sale actually helps you make more money, from rebooking clients right at checkout, to increasing your average ticket spend, to saving you money with low, flat rate processing and zero hidden fees. Ready to earn more and take back your time? Use code REBEL, REBEL, at glassgenius.com for 50% off your first 2 months of their premium plans. Now back to the show.
Next is, and I already kind of touched on this, is what does the data say? So it's facts over feelings, you guys. We can't just go based on feelings. It has to be all facts. So like, for example, I was feeling really discouraged with the trade shows. So this time it's like, okay, I'm going to be really intentional about keeping our expenses lower. I pivoted a little bit within how we did things at the show. I tried to simplify, came up with better offers, simpler offers. I didn't have as much wax out on the table because I collected data from the past shows that just confused and overwhelmed people, having every single one of our waxes melted. So now I just chose one of each formula. So I let the data push me forward. I kept our expenses lower, and then I tracked every single dollar in and out to know, like, okay, we broke even at this show at least. Like, that's good data to have. We need to make decisions not just based on emotions, but based on real numbers. And that's what's going to also help guide you towards, okay, this is a season of just needing to push through, or this is a season of pivoting. Our revenue has actually been down this year compared to last less, like significantly, but our profit is about relatively the same. So it's like, okay, that means I'm being a good steward of the income of our expenses right now, but like I do need to pivot when it comes to revenue. So I have different things that I'm going to be implementing. So I'm kind of pushing through and pivoting at the same time. Now it's a different scale because I'm in the product space. So for you guys, when you're looking just client relations and providing services, it's oftentimes you're not having to do both at the same time. It's like you're either pushing through or you need to pivot a little bit, but you have to allow the data to help you make that decision. And then lastly is my ego involved in this? Is this something I've already invested money in? So then I'm scared to just pivot away from it because I don't want to have failed, quote unquote, failed. You guys, the failure would be that, okay, I already invested 5,000. I already have collected enough data knowing that it's not working, but I'm going to let my ego make me make the decision to keep going on something that I know is not doing well just because I don't want to have to label it as a failure. You guys, that's the biggest failure because now that 5,000 loss turns into 6, turns into 7, turns into 8 just to feed your ego. It doesn't even make any sense. So instead, it's best to know when it's time to pivot, to stop that, and then learn from it. Then that's just a $5,000 learning lesson. And as business owners, all of our losses, our financial losses, it's just paid for education. You're learning a lesson through that if you allow, because you're going to continue to move forward and not let it make you quit. Maybe you announce something publicly already and then you realize like it's not the best route to take, but you force it anyways because you already announced it. So much of this can be an ego thing or being afraid to admit you're wrong. Like for me, I'm still kind of figuring this out, but I was really prepared to not do trade shows for 2027. And I think we may still do them and actually incorporate what my other idea was of doing private events. So I was planning on just doing our own private events instead of trade shows. I think we're going to pivot a little bit and do the trade shows and private events paired together like the evening after a show. So it's okay to admit when you're wrong as well. Don't let your ego make you make bad decisions just because you don't want to seem like a failure, okay? Because that's the real fail. And then asking yourself too, is this aligned with where I want to go? Like for me, I've been saying no more to being requested to come speak at certain events and things because it's not aligning with where it is that I want to go or the value that I want to provide to my audience or the pairing of brands. I'm being really intentional and careful. There was an incident that happened where just because I knew the person that was involved in a certain incident, I got dragged into it being labeled something really terrible, even though I wasn't there. So I'm being really careful about who I pair my branding with as well. And it's answering this question of, does this align with where it is I'm wanting to go or the reputation I want to have or for my brand? Does it represent my brand well as well? So that's really important to ask yourself too. Does it support your vision? Am I holding on to an old version of myself that I'm scared to let go of? If you're scared to let go, then you're saying no to the future version of yourself, and that's even worse, okay? So some examples of when I've pushed rather than pivot, like pushing through losing weight, like there was times when I stalled out a lot, but I kept pushing through. I kept going to the gym. I kept meal prepping, building Rebel. I'm in a push right now. I'm pivoting a little bit as well, but it's a push. It's difficult. It's getting really hard. It's getting really discouraging, but it's not a sign to quit and be like, no, what, this waxing thing isn't for me. It is. This is what I know is my purpose and what I meant to do. So I'm in a push season right now. Doing this podcast, being consistent with the podcast. I just got home from a 15-hour drive yesterday. I'm exhausted. Speaking this much, this is my third podcast I filmed today after speaking for 3 days in a row at the trade show. It's the last thing that I would want to do, but honestly, meeting you guys at the trade show and hearing how the podcast has helped you, that helps me push through and fuck my feelings, do it anyways, follow the plan. So that's what I'm doing. I woke up this morning, brushed my hair for you guys, put a little makeup on, and I'm here. and I'm doing it. Okay. So it's a push for me. So there's things that you guys are just going to have to push through. And just because it's hard doesn't mean that it equals it's bad or wrong or you need to stop. You just got to push through it. Okay. What you want is on the other side of hard. And then there's examples of times that I've pivoted. The trade show recently was an example. So instead of having all of our waxes out, I had 3. I pivoted a little bit in that. Products that I discontinued, that it was an ego thing for me too. This was difficult. Our pink shimmer and blue gummy pre-mix bags. It confused a lot of people. They thought it turned into a different formula. It didn't. It was 2 gel-based formulas mixed together. So we pivoted. We discontinued that. Even though I had people reaching out that were annoyed or upset by that, I still knew it was the right decision and that I needed to get my ego out of the way, and that it was confusing to customers and it was time to discontinue that. You can still get the same blend. We offered combo packs so that you could get a 5-pound of blue gummy, 5-pound of pink shimmer, get the 10-pound pricing still, and then you can mix it and still have that same color combo that people wanted. So that was an example of pivoting. Our marketing strategies. I'm starting to transfer over to giving TikTok a little bit more attention, especially with my waxing studio. It's a higher ROI. So that's a huge marketing strategy pivot for me because I've always been Instagram, and now I'm learning and utilizing TikTok, and it's working really, really well. Content style, like sometimes I pivot in that. I mean, the biggest pivot, and it's been a while now, but doing long form like this, doing podcasts, doing long form. I've always been short form. I've always done Instagram for a very long time, over 10 years now. In the past 2 years, we've incorporated long form. So that's a little bit of a pivot, although we did keep short form too. So I don't know if that'd be considered a pivot, but kind of, it was adding that in as well. Business systems. There's times when I've had to pivot and change up the way we do things. Like when we just started, Chance and I, we did things certain ways, and then now bringing in employees and hiring employees, those systems needed to be updated to make it easier to pass along for someone else to do and follow a new system. So there's so many things that you're constantly going to have to battle this of, do I push through or is it time to pivot? But go back through and ask yourself those questions, okay? So these are the final questions to kind of ask yourself. I'm going to rapid fire these. Am I bored or is it actually broken? You want to get rich, you got to be willing to be bored. Seriously. We got to stop chasing like the next high. Doing the boring stuff day in and day out is what helps you to succeed. Is this difficult because I'm growing? Okay? Difficult doesn't mean bad. Again, hard doesn't mean bad. Maybe it's because you're growing. That's a positive sign. Have I been consistent for long enough? Did I post 1 video or have I posted 1,000 and none of them have, okay, something's broken. Okay. Have I been consistent long enough? What does the data tell me? Okay. For example, I'm doing TikTok for the studio, and I've also ran ads through a local newsletter called Ben Buzz. Ben Buzz used to bring in a ton of clients. It's not bringing in as much because I track everything. I may pull the plug on that one. I may pivot from it and put more of my efforts into TikTok. What does the data tell me? Am I making this decision out of fear or from wisdom and past experience, or the experience of someone else who's providing some guidance? Is it from fear or from wisdom? Am I protecting my ego? What problem am I actually trying to solve? If I keep doing this for another year, where will I end up? And if I stop today, will I regret it? Will I look back and regret that? So I've learned that the most successful people really are those who are refusing to quit. You're willing to be bored and you absolutely refuse to quit, but you also learn to decipher when it's time to push and when it's time to pivot. So I hope this episode helped you to decipher which you need to be doing right now. I know there's no crystal clear line in the sand that tells you, yep, push versus pivot. It can blur. This is one of the hardest things to really figure out and to decide, but I hope this will give a little bit of guidance for you. But at the end of the day, just don't quit, you guys. Just keep going. Ask yourself these questions. Allow the data to move you forward, and you can do it. I promise you can do it. All right. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys back next week.